Welcome to the second intermission. As always, Saturday headlines with Elliotte Friedman, the Energizer Bunny. And no more trade talk, Elliotte. Well, we'll have a little bit, let's be honest. Last year, Elliotte, there were 2 coaching ejections. Today's was the 5th. John Tortorella. So tell us all about it.
And this was an all-timer. It did not go well tonight. 4-0 Tampa Bay 10 minutes in. John Tortorella was upset. He was ejected. He was unhappy with the penalty calls. They're honoring the 2003-4 Lightning, which team won the Stanley Cup. He went all Leonardo DiCaprio, Wolf of Wall Street, I'm not leaving, but finally left. I think he's been fined 12 times in his NHL career, and probably another one coming here. But went viral, and I don't think he'll find it very funny, but people are having a good time with it on the internet.
And congrats to Brad Richardson, Dave Andrechuk, too, specifically going up into the rafters there. So the Florida Panthers on the other side of the state, a couple of tough blows here. Yeah,
so they beat Calgary today 5-1, but the talk after was not so much about the result, but about what happened. This is Aaron Ekblad in the first period. He did not return. And then Evan Rodrigues was injured blocking a shot later in the game. No specific updates from Paul Marie's postgame. They're off tomorrow. They practice again Monday, so we'll see. But the Panthers didn't appear to be overly concerned that these were long-term. Maybe they might miss a couple games here and there, but it doesn't appear that these are long-term injuries for the Panthers with the playoffs a little over a month away.
I was saying to you, Elliotte, Kelly McCrimmon is becoming to general managers what the late Roger Nielsen was to coaches in terms of innovation. Now, he didn't invent LTIR, but he's done well with it for sure. And there's also that talk we had in the first intermission about Sunbelt advantage. If you're at the last hour, 11th hour, dealing with trade deadline and against the clock, you have to make a decision to convince someone to move. Not bad to try and convince them to go south. What do you think about all of that?
Well, first of all, on the LTIR thing, like I'll say this, I find it very difficult to criticize Vegas on this because if I was a manager, I would do the exact same thing. And I think there's a lot of managers who feel very similarly that if they had the kind of advantage to do it, they would do the exact same thing. I think if I heard anything that people might want to change today, it's that there's a couple of managers who said they're not 100% comfortable with the idea that someone can't play game 82, but then is okay 2 or 3 days later to play game 1 of the playoffs. Now, you can't do anything about it under this CBA. It's collectively bargained. But I think they're going to be curious to see if when we get to the next CBA, if there's any discussion about if you can't return in the regular season, is there a certain amount of time that you're going to have to miss in the playoffs? I don't know how much support this will have. It may have none. It may have a lot. But I think if there was any complaint, it wasn't even about Vegas, it was just about the general situation, is it does seem weird that you can't play game 82 of the regular season, then 2 days later you're okay to play in the playoffs. That's what a couple of guys said to me.
What about the Southern advantage?
You know, I have to say this, that it's not the Southern advantage. I think as the cap rises, Ron, I was listening to what you said and I was talking about with someone, I think there's definitely a realization, I don't even know if anything can be done about it, that the 6 teams that are in the no-tax states, they're going to have a huge advantage, especially as the cap rises. But I don't know if anything can really be done about it.
So, Ullmark, what was the story?
Okay, so one of the big storylines yesterday was Linus Ullmark, and they won today. He played, and he had a big emotional celebration with Jeremy Swayman, even more. Like, you stayed here, Swayman with him post-game. Ullmark, I heard behind the scenes this week, was very emotional. It was a very hard week for him. He did not want to leave Boston. He wanted to stay with the Bruins. And as we all know now, there was a team that was on his no-trade list, which he did not waive to, which is his right. That is his contractual right. However, I think there's also a second part to this. I do believe the Bruins as well had conversations with some teams that he cannot block a trade to. And obviously those teams did not occur, but I think in a couple of cases they were punted into the off season. So I think this is going to be something that's going to pick up again after the season. But right now the Bruins obviously couldn't get anything done, and we're in a situation where we're going to see where this goes after the season is over.
Are we at liberty, or did he confirm it was Los Angeles?
No, he did not. And neither did Don Sweeney.
Okay.
Yes.
And finally,
Keith Pelly is 3 weeks away from taking over as the new president and CEO of Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, and he is based overseas, but he's in Toronto this weekend and Montreal. He was at TFC's opener today. He's in Montreal tonight for the Maple Leafs and the Canadiens. And I believe this weekend he's going to meet with Brendan Shanahan, who of course runs the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we're going to start to see how that relationship is going to work. And obviously Pelly takes over for good on April the 2nd.